Okay, welcome. My name is Clayton Norman, and I am the social media and digital marketing leader here at Indiana University. We're going live right now with some representatives from University Information Technology Services, or UITS. We're going to be talking about Indiana University's move to e-learning in response to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and what that means for IU students. I'll let my guests introduce themselves in just a moment, but I really first just want to thank everyone who's joining us. We really are facing an unprecedented situation these days. We want everyone out there to make sure they are staying safe. That goes for our students, faculty, staff, families of any of those people. Make sure you're maintaining social distance and just doing everything you can to really stay safe. Indiana University has taken some very significant steps to respond to the COVID-19 outbreak to protect the health and well-being of the IU community. And this has, of course, been a disruption for many things and has brought the spring 2020 semester to us in a way that we didn't really anticipate. We understand that can be upsetting or disappointing for a lot of folks, and that the move to online learning has been done very quickly, and that it could be a cause for anxiety for some folks. So we really just want to make sure to address any questions or issues that people are having today. And so if you have questions about e-learning, how to use technology this semester, or anything related to online classes right now, please send your questions to us in the comments, and we will try to answer as many as we can. Okay, Stacey, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? And we will try to answer as many as we
can. Great. Hi, everybody. I'm Stacey Maroney. I'm the Associate Vice President for Learning Technologies for Indiana University. I'm also a professor of educational psychology. And my responsibilities are really all things learning technologies. So things that you touch every day as students. So Canvas. And you've been doing a lot in Zoom, probably with your move to online, and all of the other things that you might think about that have to do with the technologies that you're using in classrooms and so forth.
And I'm Justin Zemlak. I'm Director of Teaching and Learning Technologies. I report to Stacey and work with the Learning Technologies team. My team directly administers Canvas and Zoom, a lot of the tools that integrate into Canvas, as well as we have instructional designers on my team who work directly with our faculty to help support delivering your courses online.
Thanks, Justin. So we already have some questions coming in, so I think let's just jump right in. So first question comes from Rachel, and Rachel asks, what is IU doing to increase cybersecurity measures as everything has moved online now?
So I'm happy to take that one. So in general, before we ever even moved online, we always do a rigorous review of all the tools that we use at Indiana University. So we work with our security office to do a full risk assessment to make sure that these tools abide by the standards that we expect out of tools that we're going to be using. And so all of the tools that we've already have available at online have already gone through a security review, been reviewed by our data privacy and data stewards at the university to ensure that the data that we send and receive is protected in the way that we expect for any tool nowadays in this day and age to be secured. And then we also will re-review these tools on a regular basis to ensure that they're still meeting those needs. So with that, we've already had this process in place with IU being online for a preset determined amount of courses already. So we really didn't have to do anything new because we've already have a process that we do to maintain this.
Great, thanks, Justin. Next, she is asking, what about classes for summer session? And I assume she means our classes for summer session are going to be all online as well.
So the university has announced that all summer classes will be taught online. So the classes that originally had been in the scheduled classes as face-to-face will now be online for the summer. No decision has been made beyond the summer, but that has been announced.
Great. Thank you, Stacey. Next question is from Kara, and Kara is asking,
Clayton, I think you cut out on there. I didn't hear the question.
sure. So Kara asked, why is my Zoom freezing all the time?
Sure. So, for when you have Zoom issues, the first thing to consider is for every user, internet and the type of device you have are going to play a big part of that. So we actually have a knowledge base document out there called Considerations When Attending Classes or Meetings Remotely. And it's listed under our general Zoom documentation. And some of the information listed there is test your video quality. If when you test your video quality, it doesn't pass, I would recommend not enabling your video. The less video that's turned on during the Zoom meeting, the better the quality of that meeting is going to be. And I would encourage your classmates to do the same, because the more users that don't use the video, who don't need the video turned on, the more bandwidth is freed up for your faculty members who are delivering that course. The other things to consider as well is, when you're at your home, wherever your wireless router is or wherever you're getting your wireless signal from, if it's possible to go as close as you can to that router, if you're getting a bad signal, the likelihood is you're going to improve that signal quality, as well as if you can plug into that router, if it's possible, or your modem, or wherever your internet connection is, that will also improve the quality. So the more that you can do to limit that bandwidth or increase that bandwidth will help with that Zoom room freezing.
From Neil. Neil says, what is IU doing about Zoom bombing?
So I could take that one as well. So right now we actually have various methods that we've worked to inform our faculty about Zoom bombing. So for those of you that don't know, Zoom bombing is essentially, if somebody enters into your Zoom room and they weren't part of your course and they disrupt the course in some way. So we have, once again, a full knowledge base document around securing your Zoom room that we've been working to share with faculty. We actually have sent or will be sending a direct message, or did that go out already, Stacey? I think it did go out, yes. Direct to all faculty who are teaching all courses on every campus to ensure that they're aware of the protocols they can take to secure the Zoom room. So that includes setting up your Zoom room for authenticated IU users only, making it so only the host can share the screen, muting all users upon entry. So these are all things that we're working with our different communication outlets here at IU to let them know, to let your faculty know what they can do to secure that Zoom room. I think for you as students as well, the key is, don't share your Zoom meeting information. Keep that with yourself, and that by doing that, you'll do your part in ensuring that that information isn't spread across the internet and somebody who could potentially then join that Zoom meeting, if it's an open Zoom room, and cause a disturbance in your classroom.
Great. Thanks, Justin. I'm going to turn off my video to see if that improves my connection a little bit. So just bear with me just a second, and then we'll grab another question from the comments.
Yeah, and Clayton,
so, next question.
Clayton, one more thing I'd like to add about Zoom bombing that I did forget to mention. If we do have an incident of Zoom bombing occur in your course, I encourage any student to report it to it-incident@iu.edu, so that way we can do our proper vetting with our policy and review team to ensure that we investigate and then make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Great, that's super useful to know, and we'll try to drop some information about where people can report that in the comments there. So for those of you who are just tuning in, we are going live with Justin Zimlak and Stacey Maroney from University Information Technology Services, and we're talking about the move to online teaching this semester and taking your questions. So next question, this is from Stacey. Stacey says that some of her daughter's professors have discontinued their lectures, and that is asking, why all professors aren't moving their classes online. You guys know if you can speak to that?
So the one thing that I'm wondering about with that question is if the faculty member has just chosen to not teach the class synchronously anymore, so sort of live at the same time, but instead is having the students do different kinds of activities that still help the students master the content. So we have been actually encouraging some faculty, because there is such heavy usage of Zoom right now, that there are activities that faculty can do that would be part of, if you were to design an online course from the beginning, where you didn't have synchronous meetings, what kinds of things would you be having the students do? Some of the faculty, when this was announced, embraced that idea and said, I'm going to design a new activity. And so the lecture piece is being replaced actually with activities that help students master the content. So, I'm hopeful that that's actually what's happening there in this case.
Great, thank you, Stacey. Very helpful. Next question comes from Jeff, and Jeff asks, is there any way to purchase new PCs through the university to accommodate the online classes? And are there discounts or grants to help with the cost of those? The major concern we have is that some of our computers don't have cameras in order to actually participate in the Zoom meetings.
So I'll just go out on a limb here and say I'm not 100% sure about this, but the university does have good pricing generally for students that we pass on. So a Dell laptop, at a competitive price. I'm not sure if Justin knows any more about that, but there may be information available in the KB, things like that. But we do try to pass on good pricing to students.
Yeah, I don't know much about pricing, Stacey, but one thing I would say, if you do have the bandwidth and you don't, say, have a camera on your computer, you can also utilize your smartphone or tablet as well for Zoom. So that is another option if your computer doesn't actually have a functional webcam at the time. So maybe some of those options might help as well. That's just another thing I was thinking that could be possible.
Okay, thank you. Eleanor asks, Kaltura media is blocked on my Mac when using Safari. How can I fix this?
So that one I don't know directly. I will say, unfortunately, my team does not support Kaltura, but I would recommend first to go actually to the UITS support center to troubleshoot that. Traditionally, I know I have people on my team who use Kaltura all the time, and they use a Mac and use Safari, I believe, for that. I might recommend potentially having to switch to another browser if Safari isn't working, if that's possible. But for me, I would actually point you to the experts and say, go to UITS support 24/7. They're available. This is probably something they've dealt with traditionally, because I'm sure this isn't the first time this has come up, and they'd be able to troubleshoot that and figure that out.
In the comments for UITS support so that anybody who's having those types of issues can contact them. Rebecca asks, how can I be productive while
Can you say that again, Clayton? It kind of broke up.
Sure. Rebecca asked for some tips on maintaining productivity while we're Okay, we'll try one more time. Rebecca asked, how can she be productive while working remotely?
So I'll take that one. So there is a brand new site called keeplearning.iu.edu. And on that site are exactly what Rebecca is asking. So, what should I be thinking about? What should I be doing here to really kind of manage this, being online? And so the site has a whole set of ideas around, strategies for success. So, communication with with the faculty members, how to stay organized, how to take care of yourself physically and emotionally. It can be hard right now because we're all basically in our homes and not interacting with others in the way that we once did before we had this. Before we were all basically working from home and working online, and then just how to manage environment, how to seek help. Justin's already talked a little bit about the support center and things like that. So this site, again, is brand new. And I really encourage all of you to take a look at it and kind of poke around. There's also a frequently asked questions section that gets at kind of timely things that students are asking, that we're trying to update as often as possible so that we're keeping students informed. This is a companion site actually to the keepteaching.iu.edu. That's for faculty. So that site has been around for a long time. And, with this move to online, we put in place the Keep Learning site. And then the other piece to this is that there is a whole course, how to really learn how to, things you may have not known about Kaltura, about Canvas, whole course in IU Expand that deals with some of these topics. You can link to that from the Keep Learning site, or you can go to IU Expand directly to take a look at that. So that's more of a course that you'd enroll in to learn some of the basics that you really want to learn to help prepare you to be online.
Great, Stacey, thank you. Another question is, I am an international student, and so in-person classes don't work for me due to the time. Okay, sorry, maybe I didn't come.
We did. We
come
heard
through. So the question is from an international student. An international student asking how they can deal with the time change when attending a live online lecture won't work for them because of the time difference.
So I'll start, and then if Justin has anything to add. So that gets at one of the things that we have been encouraging faculty to do. So even if they choose to teach their class live at the time that it was originally scheduled, the Tuesday, Thursday class at 10 o'clock in the morning, they might still teach that class live using Zoom, but to then convert it to a recording that can be viewed by international students who are in a very different time zone, or people who have family obligations because they're home now with their children and things like that. So it's I think that the faculty at IU are very aware that if you are going to have a synchronous session, the advice that we've been giving that's on the Keep Teaching site is you can do that, record it, and upload it to Kaltura so that the students who could not be there don't miss out on that. So I think that that's gone pretty well. And there's a lot of Zoom sessions being recorded right now and being and processed by Kaltura.
Great, thank you. Another sort of Kaltura related question. This one's from Carrie. Carrie asks, I've struggled with Kaltura before on my poor internet connection. Can we encourage faculty to make the videos available for direct download?
Yeah, that's something we could definitely look into. Stacey, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we can, all faculty can enable videos to be directly downloaded from Kaltura. So that might be something where we just have to communicate that out. So actually, thanks for that tip. That's something we could add to our communications that we work with on faculty and letting them know.
Great, thanks, Justin. And just for anybody who's still just joining us right now, We are going live with some folks from UITS, and we're talking about online classes and taking your questions about anything related to online learning or technology this semester. Question from Kara now. What should students do if I have an assignment that I'm unable to upload due to unreliable Wi-Fi?
So Justin and I will probably come at this question a little bit differently. Here's what I would say: make sure you're communicating with your instructor. The faculty know that there could be internet issues, and I think that the fact they're going to be much more flexible because of that. But so the absolute key thing to do is to communicate and to let your faculty member know, this is what happened to me. I had the assignment ready and I just couldn't get this done. I think it's when students forget to, they just think, well, I couldn't do it. And so, the faculty member probably, I'll just reach out tomorrow. I would do whatever I could to try to contact that instructor to say, I've done the assignment. I can't upload it yet, but I'm done. And I just wanted to let you know. I think that will be the most, the best way to lower anxiety and to keep your faculty members in, know what's happening.
Yeah, I'll just chime in. I agree, Stacey. I could give a bunch of technical things that we could possibly do to troubleshoot that, but I think communication is key there. And then by talking to your instructor, they may say, oh, submit the assignment to me over email. Let's see if it goes through, and I'll submit the assignment for you in Canvas. So, I think, but you have to have that dialogue with that faculty member early and often, so that way you can help alleviate that issue.
Yeah, that sounds great. It definitely makes a big difference having that that close communication with your faculty, just to kind of help smooth out some of those issues that probably a lot of people might be experiencing this semester, because things are kind of topsy-turvy. So I know we kind of addressed this a little bit, but maybe Stacey can speak again. There's a question from Nick just about time zone differences and how that is being managed for students who are either international or maybe on the West Coast compared to India.
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, we're strongly encouraging the faculty, if they do teach their class at the, in the Eastern time zone slot that they had been typically teaching it, to also know that there are students who simply won't be able to be there at that time. And so to conduct the class and then record it and upload it to Kaltura so that the students who couldn't be there in person can still get to it. And it's interesting when we can actually see the load on things like Canvas change as the day goes on, because as the West Coast, which is of course earlier than us, by the time the West Coast universities are in full swing, we see different kinds of demands on the technology and things like that. So it's a very interesting kind of higher education landscape right now, where we've got, it's what we're doing here at IU, some of it synchronously, some of it not, but also think about the fact that the entire country is doing this. And so how that might impact things like Canvas. So Canvas has been holding up really well, and so has Zoom, but there is tremendous load on these systems right now. And so, again, with the case of Canvas, there's a lot of universities using Canvas. And so by the time those West Coast universities are online, we may see a little bit of differences in terms of, how quick Canvas is and things like that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stacey. Morgan asks, what are some other tips to make my home internet run faster?
So I think some of the things I mentioned earlier are just good to mention again, as far as, if you're in a Zoom room, it's really going to be about, I'll even just go back and take a step back and just say your device in general. Always be conscious of what you're running on your computer, or whatever device you're using to access your course or the internet. So if you think about, right before I started into this Zoom room, I closed my email, I closed my IU VPN, and I closed anything that I knew would be taking up resources. So I think that's the first thing, is be aware of what you have open. Might not be the right time to have you leave your music streaming, as an example, while you're also in Canvas and in a Zoom room. So I turned off my Spotify as well before I came into this room. I think with that, as well as, thinking about then once you're in those services, specifically like Zoom, I have to emphasize again, if you're seeing bad bandwidth and spotty connection, definitely disable your video and make it so that you can see what's going on. But unless you're speaking or unless you need to be a part of the conversation, disabling that video will be a tremendous help in your quality. And then, like I said earlier, we actually have testers for the quality of your meeting. So Zoom actually has that on their website in our knowledge base document for about Zoom, where you can go and actually test your connection and from there. And then I think, just being aware of I'll emphasize again, the other products you have open, having an Adobe product, for example, which takes up a lot of intensive resources, open while you're taking your Photoshop course in Canvas, might not be the best time to have it open. Try to do that work after, or at times when it's more functional for you to be able to get that done. And that's, once again, where I would also emphasize with communicating with your faculty and let them know if your device isn't working to where you need it to be for your course. So that way they're aware and they'll understand why maybe it might take you longer, or you might struggle with that connection in the course, by communicating these things out if it isn't something we could fix. And then I would also say, again, as I mentioned earlier, the UITS support, again, they've dealt with these issues a lot. They've supported our entire group that's already been online over the last few years. So they're used to hearing these things and finding out these things, and they might be able to give you some tricks and tips that will help out with those connections and using your hardware for joining your course.
Great. Thank you, Justin. Rachel asks, what should students who struggle with online learning do to prevent falling behind this semester?
So I'll start on this one and then I'll pass to Justin. So it's different and it takes some getting used to. One of the things that we wanted to let you know about, if you don't already know, there's an app that we created called Boost. And this app is really great because it will notify you when you've got an upcoming assignment due. And what we see in online courses is that there may be more smaller assignments that sometimes in the transition to online, it's harder for students to remember that I've got to do all of these things in each of these courses. So the Boost app, basically it's just pushes to your phone and it lets you know you've got a discussion post that's due tomorrow in a particular class. And I think that this could be really useful for students. It's been really useful for students across the board, but in this situation where there may be more smaller assignments to keep track of, I highly recommend the Boost app. And Justin can talk a little bit about like the where to get it, how it works on your phone, things like that.
Yeah, so you could just go to boost.iu.edu and you'll get the general information of Boost, what it does. The other thing wanted to mention about Boost, it actually matches to your Canvas to-do list. So you can create custom to-dos in Canvas and they'll sync to the Boost app for these notifications as well. So it doesn't just have to be around your course. It can be around reminding yourself to study or, hey, give yourself your own reminder on this draft is due. I need to make sure I get to this point. And those all can be custom things that you can do as well. And it's also available in the iOS and Google Play Store. So you can just do a search for Boost IU, and it should be one of the first searches that come up. One thing I'd also mention around this, I actually just was talking about this with my team on Slack earlier today, and I think be aware that your fellow classmates are in the same boat. So I think when you start thinking about use them as a community, see if your faculty member will encourage you to create your own study sessions. Everyone at IU has a license of Zoom available. Use it to your advantage to have a late night study session with everyone, or open up a Google Hangouts chat and have a conversation with them about, hey, what do you think about this problem? What's going on? Where I need help. So that way, even though we may be remotely in locations, we can still work together to help go through these whatever we're working on in the class, and support each other in figuring those things out. And I think that's something that's important here too, is that, work with your classmates, work with your faculty to kind of foster that environment where you can work as a team and support each other to stay on point with the things that you're looking to do in your course.
Thank you. Very, very helpful. This one is a question of my own, but I just wonder, and I think this would apply for students and faculty and staff as well, but what are your sort of top tips for Zoom etiquette? We've talked a little bit about the technology side, but what about just the little things that you can do to make your meetings go more smoothly for everyone involved?
I think for Zoom, the first thing I would do is something we've been doing actively here is stay muted when you're not talking. That's one of the first things, to order to not be disrupted towards your other students and your faculty member. I think as far as other things, etiquette, we actually have a full knowledge-based document as well too about Zoom and considerations about when you're attending remotely. I think, be aware of your environment as well too. You might want to do what I did today and enable a virtual background instead of having a custom background or having your normal background behind you, because if you have, say, other family members around that you don't want them in the video distracting, or I'm in a messy playroom today, just to be frank. So it's a lot easier for me to have this virtual background up. I think practicing using the tools as well too. So I know some of you have been in Zoom now, but I think logging in, like I said, everyone has a license. You can get your own Zoom room up and running, log in, test it out, get familiar with those controls. So that way, if you do need to mute quickly, or you do need to turn off your video, or you do need to test what your bandwidth is, that and you understand how to do that. I think the more you do ahead of time, the more you're going to be able to assess and control the quality of your meetings as you're in there. And that goes for testing your webcam and microphone as well too. On my old laptop I used to have to call in a lot through my phone. So a lot of people don't realize you can still view the Zoom meeting, but disable your audio on your computer and instead call through your smartphone and listen to the audio that way, and still use both connected and just sync them up. So those are some of the things that I'm thinking of that immediately jump out. But once again, we have a specific knowledge-based document called Considerations When Attending Classes or Meetings Remotely that I think kind of walks through some of these things to do, and also during the meeting as well too, to help with being able to control that Zoom environment and kind of be familiar with what you're doing, and make it an environment that's comfortable for all of your classmates and faculty.
And I think just to add on to that, it's there is this knowledge-based document, but things like just alerting the people, if you're living with others in your home, either your family or you have roommates, to just let them know, I've got class at this time and it's a live Zoom session. And so, to try to not have the disruptions, if at all possible. It isn't completely possible in some cases. We do have lots of people now who are home with young children, and there's just no way to avoid that because they have to be parents first. But whenever possible, to alert your family members and the people with whom you're living that this is what's happening at these particular times of the day, so they can kind of avoid those interruptions.
That's good.
Great. Yeah, thank you. I guess for either one of you, what about functions in Zoom or Zoom capabilities that people might not know about that you find particularly useful? Zoom or
So for Zoom, I'll mention again, I think the virtual background is something that's fun, as I have one going today. I think that also is helpful, like I said earlier, in blocking the environment behind you as well too, if you want to have a little bit more of a private. I think besides that, trying to think, Stacey, can you think of any other Zoom particulars that you like or are fond of? Trying to run through. I know when you create your own Zoom room, one of my favorite things that is more for a personal thing is you can create your own personal meeting ID. So that way, when you send those out to your family members, it's a lot easier for them to remember to have that personal ID instead of some random number that you generate over and over again. I know I use that frequently with my team and my family as well. And I will say, the quality of the Zoom app in my mobile device, I've always been really in wonder of how well it's worked. I've been in a car as a passenger and attended an entire Zoom meeting running through various cell phone towers, and it hasn't skipped a beat. And so things like that, I've always been really impressed. So, I'd emphasize again, don't be scared to use a mobile app if you have one, and try that out as well, because it is helpful if you're having trouble with your laptop. The mobile app is just as good, and it's really high quality, and it does the trick. And I think that in general, for me, is probably the biggest thing that jumps out.
Great. Thanks, Justin. So we can maybe move on to maybe about the last question, and I'll just throw it out to both of you. Maybe you can just recap what your top advice would be for students who have some anxiety about taking classes online this semester, and how to make the most successful semester possible while online.
So I'll start and then pass to Justin. So the first thing is, and Justin touched on this, this is new for many students and many faculty. So we're in somewhat uncharted territory. And so to just be kind, and to just, not panic, and to look at the resources that are available to you on the Keep Learning site. If you have a question, go to the knowledge base and type in your question and see what's there. The knowledge base is full of really good information. And the support center is there to support you. And to just know that, it might not be perfect, but we will get through this together. And I know that the faculty are committed to your learning.
Yeah, and I'd say, in particular, first I'd focus just on the services side, and let everyone know that I'm in contact with all of our vendors on a daily basis, and we're continuously working with them to ensure that Canvas, Zoom, Kaltura are all running, and up and running, and accessible for you to do the coursework that you need to do. And when the problems do arise, we're working on it 24/7 and available to help fix those issues. And then I really agree with Stacey and what she said about keeplearning.iu.edu. I can't emphasize that enough, especially from just the section for Find Help, where it directly has your UITS information there, your campus student affairs office in case you have specific needs that you want to bring with them, access to library resources, as well as we have the Boost app information up there as well too. So we try to create one place where you can go and feel comfortable with this. And I think it's good to emphasize again, you're just not alone. Everyone else is in this situation, and we're going to do our best to help you get through this. And so for me, I was really excited to be a part of this today, and hopefully we helped even today over these last 30 or so minutes to help answer your questions and help you feel more comfortable about where we're at, and successfully completing the semester.
Great. Thank you, Justin. Thank you so much, Stacey. I think really good advice from both of you. I'll leave with Stacey's words: be kind, don't panic. We're going to get through this together. Hoosiers, you can do this. If anybody is just now tuning in, we're actually about to end this broadcast, but it's been really great. This video will stay live on our Facebook page, so you can return to it if you have questions that you want answered. There's also a lot of great content and links in the comments, so please feel free to scroll through there and find a lot of answers to questions that have been asked. Thank you again to Stacey and Justin. I think this has been great and very useful. We really appreciate your time. And with that, we're going to sign off. Thanks everybody for joining us.